So for me, it was my first time getting to go there and my first time going to a detention center. And, seeing the lights flicker and seeing that they can hear us by the way that they're pumping their fist in time with the chains in the windows, it really reminds you why we're doing this. Because those are human beings inside those walls who have had everything taken from them. And almost no one inside is actually a violent criminal.
Oh, my words hurt them, guys! My words hurt them! They got so mad at the words, they had to fucking gas the civilians expressing their First Amendment right! Their First Amendment right!
And so being able to support them is the point of those protests. It's the point of concentration camp protests. You want them to hear you.
We're not scared of your fucking gas! You're fucking cowards!
As much as you can, you want them to see you. You want them to have as much contact with you, even through the walls, as possible, because that keeps them going too.
We're not fucking scared of you. We're not fucking scared of you because we're not breaking the law. You are! And you're the fucking law enforcement, right?
And that's what we're there for. It's to fight for their conditions and to remind them that we still see them, the human beings inside.
Hi, and welcome to a special In the Park episode of Occupation Breakdown. I've got my friend Emily, or Red Witch, with me. How are you doing today, Emily?
Doing all right. What about you?
Oh, hanging in there. It's a beautiful day here in Minnesota. We are in an undisclosed location in the park. But yeah, so obviously, if you follow Emily online, you may have seen that she has been through quite a lot of, we'll call them historical events lately.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of historical events.
To kind of give a little rundown, the state of Minnesota, it's really been tough here. We've been going through a long mental battle of dealing with the long-term effects of this occupation. After the drawdown was announced, even though the large mass of troops left, there's still a large amount of troops that are agents, goons, fucking ICE losers that are still in town, terrorizing our neighbors, our families, and all these people across our state and community here. So a lot of people have been dealing with that mental fatigue. The toll has been tough. And it's been really tough for a lot of people. And so once about May 22nd, the hunger strike started at Delaney Hall. Things started to really heat up there. Obviously, we were lucky enough to have Ian Austin over there as this kind of broke out, as well as Brett Budis and some other great reporting on the ground as well. So things really heated up there. You were able to go to New Jersey from, it looks like, May 31st to on the ground June 7th, I think. And then after you returned, there's some issues at Whipple as far as the right to be able to protest there. So we did some coverage on the Appleton, Minnesota detention center coming up here, as well as the violence at the court protest there. So you've seen quite a lot there. How are you feeling?
I'm in danger. It's a lot. Processing it has been a lot. There are a lot of different components to it that I think maybe people don't even think about most of the time, that even activists don't think about most of the time. But the more you protest and the more you travel to protest and other people travel to protest where you are, you meet a bunch of people. And even when you're not on the ground there, wherever things are breaking out, you see people that you know, and you're watching them go through violence too. So like, even if you aren't the one enduring the violence, through being involved in this movement, you end up seeing people that you know going through state violence all of the time. So like, even before I went out to Delaney, even after I got back, even, when I would leave, I would still have the live stream going to see what was happening where I just was, and making sure that my friends were okay and calling legal support if they weren't. So being on the ground is physically and emotionally taxing when you're there, but it also has, this fallout as well. And then I also want to note that within the couple weeks leading up to me going out to Delaney, we have seen ICE picking up again, here in the Twin Cities as well, being more aggressive and acting more similar to how they did in the surge.
Yep.
We've also seen ICE activity picking up in LA and in Chicago. We have friends in Chicago being followed on a regular basis right now by HSI and ICE agents. So even though things look calm on the surface, they're absolutely not. And we just saw that here in the Twin Cities also with the recent indictments of 15 people. And I don't know about you, but when you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of your friends go down in one morning.
Yeah, that was a startling day.
Yeah, that was fucking terrifying is what that was. And I'm glad that no one was seriously injured in it as far as I'm aware. But, you know, those were HSI, those were ICE agents as well. And so we can say ICE has died down, but even here in Minneapolis, they just came and arrested 15 people in the movement, which, by the way, also for conspiracy charges, shouldn't they have to know each other? Because do you know how many of them do not know each other? Just throwing that out there.
What a world we live in. And to add on to that, obviously we just had the decision in the Prairie Land case. There was some extreme 30 years in prison.
30 to 100 years.
Yeah, 30 to 100 years.
One was 30 years for moving like boxes of anti-fascist zines. That was 30 years in prison.
Yeah. So obviously a very tense time within the community, and obviously the tactics of fear and intimidation, legal harm, legal repercussions are definitely, present. So yeah, I know we're going to go into first New Jersey here, your trip there. Obviously, I'm going to take some clips and we'll put them in after here, but basically of the hijinks that happened the night before, we'll call it. But I would say the reason for the curfew that happened in the first place was the night before there was a very large, let's say they created the First Amendment zone. The state police showed up, which is, just a ridiculous idea in the first place.
Things never get better when the state police show up. Never.
So
or conservation officers, by the way.
So the First Amendment zone was instituted, and then there was, from what I could remember, I think there was basically kind of a standoff of people just asking, what does this even mean? What is the First Amendment zone? Like, is it everywhere? First Amendment zone, isn't that the First Amendment? But so there's some scuffles there, but I think at some point people were in the zone. They were doing what they were afforded the right to do in the zone, and all of a sudden, without any orders, the police just basically started tear gassing, pepper spraying, rubber bullets, the crowd, just and pushing them out. And then there was basically, I don't geographically know the area well enough, but it seemed like they'd just been pushing them farther and farther down the street. There was a line that kept moving of barriers and stuff like that. And basically it just kept going down. And there's a million amazing videos of Ian, spouting off to not even the ICE agents or anything, the democratically, ordered state police to show up and basically just beat them down and to quell the protests.
Think about it, right? Your guys' job is to protect and serve the people. What was going on out here wasn't going well. So just like in Minnesota, a fascist government made an offer to a government, and now you guys are here doing the dirty work of a literal fascist regime's private military right over there. And they don't want Americans to see it happening. They don't want Americans to see a private military beating on the fucking civilians. Yeah, buddy, keep shaking your fucking head. I know, it's hard to fucking grasp for you. But that's why you're here. That's why you're here, to do the fucking dirty work. Because Americans are okay with seeing cops beat on civilians. But Americans aren't okay with seeing a private military beat on civilians. So Donald Trump made an offer, right? And somebody accepted it. And now you fucking clowns are here to do the dirty work of fucking fascists. You are the fucking opposite of law and order. Fuck you, fascists! Fuck you, fascists! Fuck you, fascists! Oh, my law took them, guys! My law took them! They got so mad at the words, they had to fucking gas the civilians expressing their First Amendment right! Their First Amendment right! We're not scared of your breaking the law. You are, and you're the fucking law enforcement, right?
So, as Ian was doing that, he was famously shot, what, 5 sometimes? I
I don't
mean,
know.
I
It
don't even
wasn't
know.
good.
I'll put the pictures and everything up there of the welts, some smaller and larger, you know, marker rounds and rubber bullets, stuff like that. So it was definitely a very serious thing. He persists and still kept on showing up. You showed up the next day. So the first day of the protest there. I'm going to play one video here and then we'll just kind of talk about that. So on that day, the protests actually happened. There is the curfew, and then basically there is a standoff of like what is going to happen at curfew, and that led to this mass arrest.
Listen up. If you are press, you got the opportunity right now, and that's it, to leave. If you don't leave out here in an orderly fashion, you are coming with us. Do you understand that? You're leaving that direction, sir. You are not press. Hey, listen up! Everybody back up! Back up! Hey! God! Listen up! You gotta get that. One at a time. Press. And you're going beyond that bus right there. You do not come past that bus. Do you understand? All right? One at a time. I will tell you and point you out. You're not press.
Gate that is being run by very few who are interested in maintaining the status quo, not the status quo, the status quo. It is fascism, absolutely fascism. This is state-sponsored violence. Instead of being brutalized by federal ICE agents, people are being brutalized by state police agents. Do you want your green flavored violence or your blue flavored violence? That's all you're getting here.
And no one is exempt.
That's right. No one is exempt. They're targeting the press. The ICE agents were smashing press cameras and hands. The state police were targeting press with pepper balls yesterday. I had my camera shot. Tear gas, flashbangs. The pepper balls are the least of it. It's the flashbangs, it's the tear gas, it's the horses. It's the overall use of fear and terror on American citizens trying to exercise the most core principles of what it means to be an American. The state has a monopoly on violence. All these little laws of, trespassing or staying up past curfew, they're all backed up by threats of violence. That's all the state is. They're putting these American citizens who they should see as their brothers and sisters, they're putting them face down in the mud, putting them in handcuffs, because they don't think that peaceful people who just wanted to be in this country, who most of them had zero criminal records, who are holding a peaceful hunger strike, shouldn't be indefinitely detained in abysmal conditions. That they have a right to moderately good food, at all food without worms in it. They have a right to medical care when they're being detained, even though they shouldn't be detained in the first place.
So, what are your thoughts on that? And do you want to kind of walk us through the day after?
Yeah, I mean, that was my first night on the ground. And hadn't made a lot of connections yet, so I personally was trying to stay out of anything super risky at that point, just being out of state and not knowing many people there. So when I heard, I was there until the police lined up, because they kept saying like we might lift curfew, we might not. Like it was just kind of the whole time the police there on all levels seemed like they were just waiting for orders that would come at the very last minute. So all day they were standing there not even knowing what they were doing, but they're enforcing, I don't know what they're enforcing, but they're enforcing something that is going to come.
Mm-hmm.
I had been there and everyone had been peacefully protesting all day, and they decided they were going to, keep the curfew. And so I remember I think it was Newark police at that point. I don't remember, but they came with, I don't remember if it was state or Newark police at that point. I think it was state.
I believe that was state.
Yeah, I think that was state.
I think Newark was the
came
next
in the
day.
next day. Yeah. That was when that agreement was made. They act so similarly a lot of times that it's hard to really differentiate. But so yeah, the state police came up with their shields. They lined up, and we could see there weren't police outside of their vehicles yet, but the whole block behind us, you could see was all cops ready to come out. They had hundreds and hundreds of cops there, way like 5-1 for the protesters.
Yeah.
And then we heard that there were horses coming in from the north. So being on the ground and hearing horses coming in from the north, there's a line of cops in front of us. There is a line of cops not out of their vehicles behind us. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I saw what they did last night, you know? And so I helped the medics get some of their supplies out. That seemed like the right thing to do. So yeah, I left with some of the medics and I helped get their supplies out. So by the time this clip happened, I was sitting a mile away at a bar watching this live, which it was really, really hard to walk away from because it felt like that kind of situation was why I was there.
Yeah.
But I had gone with a team of people that we all protect each other. We all keep each other safe.
Mhm.
And so I had to not put the people around me at risk, which is something that is difficult for me, but that I am learning to be better at. But it's really, really hard to extricate yourself when those kinds of situations are happening and you feel like you could help being there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the next day, the next day we still didn't know anything. We still didn't know anything about whether or not the curfew would be lifted or anything, because it was still like, oh, maybe we will, maybe we won't, just the tip, you know? And
Before you get into that, can I
Yeah.
just ask you really quick? On the day that everybody was kept away from Delaney, what was that feeling like? Because obviously, I'll play some of the videos of the lights flickering, the people inside actually physically interacting with you. And then I saw a video of someone saying that they were like, the worst thing about this is knowing that they can't hear us anymore.
Yeah.
They don't know we're there. What was that like on the ground?
I mean, it was heartbreaking because you're there to connect with the people inside. That's what you're there for. You're there to show solidarity with them and tell them that they're not alone. And that's exactly what the feds, the state, all of the people in power are trying to separate. They're trying to make us feel alone and isolated. They don't want the people inside to know that we're out here fighting for them, which is also why they were taking away their screen time and things like that, because when they're inside, they're watching us out there. So any way that we can build solidarity with the people inside, they were trying to break from us. And they also thought, I'm sure, that would quell the protests. But clearly that didn't work.
Correct. So you have a little bit of so Tuesday was the day that the curfew was lifted there.
Yeah.
Was everybody at that point, that was also a day that up until the curfew was lifted, everybody was kept away from Delaney, right?
Yeah.
So there was like a mass mobilization of everybody back to Delaney, right? At some point, I think.
The next day.
Oh, was that the next day?
Yeah, that was the next day. Because so to go over
Wednesday?
that was when the curfew
Tuesday.
was lifted.
Yeah, on Tuesday.
But to go over kind of the layout of Delaney and how they have things set up, it's in a warehouse district. It's right next to a large sewage plant. Yeah, it smells awful, especially when it's 90, 100, 110 degrees. It's next to a large sewage plant in New Jersey. And it's where a lot of truckers are going by and stuff, because it's where they're moving their cargo. And so it's dirty. It smells awful. We joked a couple times about I wish they would tear gas because it would smell better. And everyone in the group would agree, because it genuinely would smell better. And crazy humor in the field. And so you're starting with those. It's dusty and dirty and blowing all over you. And then the physical layout it's just a long street. And so when they push you, they close off the street that both Delaney and Essex County Jail are on. And they close it off to both sides, to Wilson on one side and
which is to
Roanoke.
pin
Yeah,
people into
it's
a-
between Wilson and Roanoke, to pin people outside of that zone. And so the next day, Tuesday, we went and had a court protest, a jail support protest, because they had taken 63 people.
I forgot about that. Yeah, so that was 63, right?
63 people. They had taken 63 people.
Yeah. So that was that video we were showing there a moment ago. So of the 63 people that were arrested after the press was allowed to leave, I know Mercado was there. I think that was his last moment there before he left as well.
Yeah, I didn't run into him on the ground there, but That's fair.
So basically, there is that moment where the curfew was questionable. Nobody knew what was going on all day. Sorry about that. And then basically, you had a little bit of a run in there. Do you want to kind of talk about that?
Yeah. Well, first during that day, we had the jail support protests, and that took up a lot of the day because we were waiting for all 63 people to be released, and they weren't letting people see lawyers or anything like that. And we had to send lawyers in to actually like fight to see people. It was the next day, and they still hadn't even processed any of them. They hadn't even been processed. So we were fighting for them, and they hadn't even been processed, and they weren't being allowed to see lawyers or anything. And it took time to get someone in and to get the public defender's office on it and all of that stuff. So we already were fighting that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then we left from the jail support, which was at both sides when all of the people had been released.
Yeah.
We all went over. Most people left Roanoke and went over to the Wilson side, which was the main protesting hub.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we were waiting all day. People were asking the cops, like, hey, if I'm standing where I am, which is half a mile away from Delaney, if I'm standing where I am when the curfew hits, am I going to get arrested? Is there a curfew tonight? And the cops just wouldn't answer. So, yeah, I had to run in. I went to go use the restroom. And like I said, it's a warehouse district. What you can find there is sparse. There's one gas station near there, and they are not kind to protesters. So you don't go there. So I went in what ended up being kind of like a fancier restaurant. And I walked in, and there's a dude in a suit sitting there with two dudes in suits further back with like earphones in. And I'm like, okay. I walked in the bathroom, and I ran into a CBS reporter that I'd seen at Delaney. And I was like, I think we're coming from the same place. And she's like, yeah, I think we are. So we chatted for a minute. She walks out and she goes, Mayor Baraka. And I'm like, all right, it is 8:10 p.m. The curfew is at 9:00 p.m. I'm about to get some answers, you know? And so I went up and I interrupted them as politely as you can interrupt people, I think. And I asked Mayor Baraka if I could ask him a question. And first he was like, well, who are you? And I was like, well, I'm someone who cares very much about what's happening at Delaney Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of, crossed his arms and made a face at me. And I was like, well, I'm just wondering, because we've been asking the cops all day and they don't seem to know what is going to happen at 9:00 because people want to know if they're going to get arrested where they're standing. And he kind of talked in circles for a minute. And then he went, well, they probably don't know because we haven't decided yet. It is 8:10 p.m. and the curfew is at 9 p.m. And you are sitting down with CBS, Mayor Baraka, instead of figuring out whether this curfew is going to be lifted. So I took my happy ass back to the protest. And I jumped out of a car at Ian Austin and Who is King Triv and Bradley the Buddhist and a couple others who were live. And I was like, y'all, this is what's happening. Ian took the message over, ran across the street, delivered it to the people. I grabbed a megaphone and started shouting, Mayor Baraka gave the location. And I was like, and he's meeting with CBS right now. Instead of figuring out what to do about this curfew, started yelling at the cops, you guys don't even know what to do because Mayor Baraka said they haven't decided yet. 15 minutes later, the curfew was lifted. So there were a lot of cameras there that got that. And I do like to say public pressure works. I don't think I am the reason, but I am saying that I don't think that helped them.
Yeah, it didn't hurt. Didn't hurt.
Yeah, it definitely didn't hurt. So the curfew was lifted. And then, so when the Newark PD was sent out, they brought out a community defense liaison force, which is people from the community who put on yellow vests and liaison between them and the protesters and the police. And they were out there, bless their hearts, they were out there begging protesters to back off so that they wouldn't be subject to state violence. That was really all they could do is, guys, please, you don't understand how much you're taking right now. You really don't understand. And so they're just sitting there begging us to back down sometimes so that we don't get beat by the cops. That was really, really their role, was to try to keep us in check right before the police would beat us. And on those nights, and the police seemed nicer the nights that they were there too. It would have been really bad PR if even with the police liaison squad, they still came out and beat our asses.
Yeah.
So they were a lot nicer the couple nights that they were there. But so the night the curfew was lifted, they let us back to Delaney. They took some time to like remove the barricades a little bit, and they switched traffic over to Avenue P so that traffic wouldn't, like the trucks and stuff wouldn't be coming at us while we're trying to walk down with all of these barricades in place and stuff like that. And they led us down to Delaney Hall. And that was so incredibly powerful. Yeah, it was so good being able to finally, because, you know, I didn't get there until after they had already been pushed back. So for me, it was my first time getting to go there and my first time going to a detention center. And, you know, seeing the lights flicker and seeing that they can hear us by the way that they're pumping their fist in time with the chants in the windows, it really reminds you why we're doing this. Because those are human beings inside those walls who have had everything taken from them. And almost no one inside is actually a violent criminal.
Yeah.
And so being able to support them is the point of those protests. It's the point of concentration camp protests. You want them to hear you as much as you can. You want them to see you. You want them to have as much contact with you, even through the walls, as possible, because that keeps them going too. And that's what we're there for. It's to fight for their conditions and to remind them that we still see them, the human beings inside.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And I guess I think like when you think of Whipple, there are differences.
People are kept in the basement.
Yeah.
You can't really connect with them. You can't really, like, when they do keep people, but they're kept in the basement. You can only see them when they're going in or out in vans, and the vans are so dark you can't see anything. So it makes it really hard.
You just see the people that have been wrongfully detained released, which is obviously horrible, you know, but glad to see them out. But also, obviously, they're people that have been mishandled by our government, you know, to say the nicest way to say it. You know, so obviously that's a huge moment for you, you know, emotionally and everything, to be able to experience all that. You know, there is a difference between, you know, how Newark PD obviously is operating. At some point, Newark PD decides to, you know, I don't know if they fully left, but they, you know, decided, hey, our job isn't security, right?
That took a lot of pressure from on the ground.
Yeah.
Because like the first night, the night we were let back, they wanted a PR win. It was election day that week. Like there was a special election. They wanted good PR. And that's what everybody on the ground was saying. They knew what was happening. And so, like, there was one cop that was picking fights with me and one of my friends. And, like, I literally walked away because I didn't want to fight with him. And he ended up getting pulled off the line that night because they were trying to do good PR. The next day, you know, they were still trying to do good PR. They did push us back that night, which was wild. Because they pushed us, like, everyone was, you know, being peaceful. They pushed us back all the way to Avenue P, which is where they had rerouted the trucks to. It has no streetlights, and it's directly in front of the sewage plant. And so they pushed us down, not even just to Wilson and Duramus. They pushed us another block down to directly in front of the sewage plant, where they had rerouted the trucks to, with no overhead lights for our safety. And then Reverend River Tree or something like that, a bitch in a red jacket. And this isn't a thing against religious people. This is against her specifically.
I think I saw the videos of her. I was wondering who she was.
Yeah, she came out before the cops started pushing us back. She came out from towards Delaney, and she starts hugging the cops. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And then she starts coming over and telling us how much, you know, she cares and she's for us. And then she watches the cops push us all the way back to where I just told you they pushed us to, which is not the safest location if you're going to push people to somewhere. We had someone that does city planning who was sitting here like, you know, they should talk to me about this because this is not safe. I loved her, but she was awesome. She came to observe that day, and she came back every day after that because she saw how we were treated. But that day she was just there to observe. They pissed her off though.
Yeah.
Specifically that reverend, because that's who she was talking to that day. So then that reverend, after we're pushed back by police to this nasty place, not safe, she goes into the middle of the road. Oh, well, first she comes up to the protesters and she's like, I want to talk to you guys. And like, people are like, what the fuck is this? And, you know, swearing and stuff. And she's like, and yelling. And she's like, no, I want to talk to the peaceful protesters, not the ones who are swearing and yelling. Like, can the peaceful ones come talk to me? And everyone's like, what the fuck?
I think I saw that.
Yeah. And then after that, she goes over to the media, which is what she wanted. She goes over to the media, talks to them, and then she goes, holds hands with the cops in the middle of the street, not blocking traffic, right? with the cops and has a prayer circle, leads a prayer circle. And so if you see people yelling at this lady holding hands with cops, leading a prayer circle, it's because we had just been pushed back by those same police. And now she's trying to call us violent, say we're not peaceful because we're swearing and yelling. And she's holding hands with cops in the street, leading a fucking prayer circle. This isn't a thing against religion. It's a thing against her.
Oh my God.
And I hope you see this, ma'am.
Oh my God. You know, and it's funny because at least the Bible guy just handed you a Bible and walked away. You know, it's like street preachers and some of that other bullshit just gets a little.
Oh, we had a fascist preacher show up the next day.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Actually,
if you want to talk about that, that's worthwhile. And then
sure.
we'll kind of get into some of the arrests and stuff.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah.
So the next day we had a fascist preacher show up, and I was supposed to be meeting up with a new friend that day. So, and this all ties together.
A regular David Easterwood or something? Or
he's with the Lord's Army, I think he said. That he like comes in like tactical gear.
So at least David Easterwood plays a front,
right?
know.
No, this guy comes in like tactical gear with a camera crew, and the police, like when people were like, so I was supposed to meet a new friend there that day also, and we were supposed to like buddy up because you always buddy up in these situations. And I'm from out of state, I need a buddy, so I'm hanging out at Delaney, and this fascist preacher is like across in his own barricades, but like they haven't told us we can't go over there yet. And people are like, oh, yeah, that's so-and-so. We know him. And then this dude, there's like one random protester over on that side. And it's this tall redhead guy. And he just takes off his shirt and starts dancing behind him. And like just keeps going. And so eventually some of us ran over there with like music and shit like that, and we were just like over there dancing with him, and somebody walked up and just started questioning the preacher, not touching him, not arguing with him, just started like questioning the preacher, and the cops flooded because we were so dangerous. So the cops flooded and they separated us, and they gave him his own zone and pushed us all over to the other side, and we're like, okay, whatever, fascist preacher gets his own side, we get it. And so then I went to go talk to the guy that had been dancing, and that was my buddy for the day. I was like, hey, I like your style. That was you, right? Good job. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm so-and-so. And I'm like, whoa. So that was cool.
That's you.
Yeah, it was very funny. So then we buddied up for the rest of the day. And then he was detained that night.
Oh, my God. Was that, do you know what night that was maybe? Was that Thursday?
Yeah, I think that was probably Thursday.
Yeah.
I would have to go back and check. No, it was Wednesday because ICE didn't take over that day. Newark was still out.
Was it Thursday when ICE took over?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure,
okay.
yeah. But that was Wednesday. So all day, he and I had buddied up and, not gone more than a few feet from each other because you need to know where each other is.
Yep.
And at one point, the cops were kind of pointing at me, and most of us who have been out there kind of know what that means. They're targeting you for a possible arrest. They like to pick out their targets earlier in the day and then go in and grab people later in the night when they feel like they can. And so my friend was like, well, fuck that. And he went and he stood in front of me, which was his own choice. And I have to keep reminding myself of that because I feel a lot of guilt about it. From there, he was like, should I sit down? And I was like, I mean, it's not illegal. He was, not over the line on their property or anything like that. And I just kind of looked at him and I was like, I think it's going to piss the cops off. And he was like, all right. So he sat down. And so he wasn't like, other than some stuff he said through the megaphone, which wasn't even vulgar, it was just on point, and that got under their skin. He wasn't.
That's this one really quick.
Yeah.
And you could let me know if this is.
Yeah, it is. That's him.
So this is the convoy of ICE agents that we saw pass by here earlier. They're now coming back into this entrance.
I'm right there. He's right there.
Okay.
Punching him on the ground.
This officer just threw a punch. He was throwing punches to the guy on the ground.
Thank goodness for status for getting this. Look at how many guys do they need? He wasn't being violent. You saw it.
This gets really intense after this.
Back up! Back up! Back up! Back up! Back up!
That was just for 2 people. How many people did they need?
She gets really like at him.
I'll put you in cuffs, I swear to God. Just go. You don't get in the way. Back up. Okay. Stay right there. Back up. Get over here. Back up.
Whoa! Whoa! See, they're wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was him. You saw he wasn't being violent. He wasn't doing anything, and then they're punching him on the ground while they're detaining him with how many people on top of him?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because he pissed him off with his words and probably by standing in front of me and sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Those are all constitutionally protected things.
Yeah.
And yet it gets you thrown on the ground, beaten, 2 days in jail, and some fucked up charges that he will win against. But because, you know, we saw on video what happened, but just having to go through the legal process, the process is the punishment. We say it time and time again because it's true. They will expand what is illegal to get us into having to go through this process, even for us to be exonerated in the end, just to cause us and everyone around us pain and disruption, with the 15 to be able to put things on so that they can't even talk to each other and later add witnesses they can't talk to isolate us. And so, yeah, like seeing that just was super fucked. And especially when like that's you get some real quick trauma bonding out there in the field, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, one last thing, I guess. So obviously the next day there is a interesting event that happened here. So I'm going to play this video first.
ICE just came out here with one shield shooting off pepper balls. They just detained 2 people, including Ian, who I'm going to tag.
You know, you're like running right around here. I can see you like immediately messing. That's you. They got you. And then you can see they turn the camera and you're like,
I'm like, gotta let the homies know.
I think I got that message too, like live. So, okay.
And just to remind you, he was already still injured from when he got multi-pepper balled and everything the night before, or a couple nights before. He still had very visible injuries he was dealing with when this happened.
Yeah, and so
about 30 minutes ago, they stopped allowing any protesters on the street who are wearing bags or have backpacks. So unclear what's happening right now.
So quite a dramatic arrest there. What are your thoughts on that before we talk a little bit more about it?
It was insane. It was very dramatic. It had already been a real... Can I talk a little bit about that day in general? Sure. So that day was fucked because we got there pretty early in the day, but everyone that I knew was injured by 5 p.m. Like, injured. I'm not saying... Yeah. So, like, it was a very violent day before Ian was even detained. That's the day that I got my foot run over. I got my dress ripped on a Geo Group vehicle that wouldn't stop moving. One of my friends had both of her feet run over. She is a teacher in her 50s-ish. And then while I was icing my foot, within just a couple minutes, the medics had sat my ass down, told me, do not move, you know? And all of a sudden, Geo Group employees just run out and, well, first, so in all of that, where we got our feet run over and stuff like that, they hit someone. They hit someone so hard that this small person flew over their vehicle. Flew over their vehicle. Yeah.
Lord.
And then the Geo Group employee driving got out of the vehicle. It was a woman, and she was mad, and she went to go beat this person's ass. And at least 10 Geo Group employees came out to help her And when people stepped in to defend, including one man who was carrying an accordion, putting his body on the line to try to protect this small person who had just been hit by a he, as well as a bunch of other people and that person, were all hit with metal ball-tipped batons and mace, like mace showers, point blank. What the fuck is happening? These are not government employees. These are civilians. And Newark PD is literally driving by as it happens. Doesn't stop because they're not playing security for them, but they're sure as hell not protecting us either. And then 2 of my friends who are medics grabbed the man with the accordion who got beat until he couldn't walk. He was beat until he couldn't walk for just trying to protect this girl who had a person who had already been hit by a car. When the medics tried to carry him out and were walking him out, they maced him and the medics just for good measure. Like, that's the level of violence that we witnessed before Ian was even detained that day. And then within an hour of that, we had to clean ourselves up and walk over to the jail because that's where my friend was getting released after 2 days. So we had to go get him out, hear about the charges that he's now facing, which are absolute bullshit, and then took our asses back. Injured feet, like the medics on scene thought that my foot was fractured. I got rechecked later that night with a loose ligament, but like, it was to the point where like John Farina like walked up to me and was like, your foot, didn't you just, I was like, I'm fine, it's fine. And he's like, there's a seat for you in my car if you need it. Because none of us out there were taking care of ourselves because we're seeing the violence being leveled against us.
It's hard to walk away from.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much you're going through. You can't leave the people that you're with to go through more, like, because there's strength in numbers. But by the time ICE came out that night, I think, Ian was grabbed. That happened. It was awful. I went and I took, I ran over, I snapped one photo of him being led away so that I could just get the message out right away of like, look, this happened again, guys, get on this. And then, I went straight to, letting people know, letting, someone in his family know, calling our mutual lawyers. And then my team grabbed everyone and was like, hey, ICE is really coming out. The people back home are telling us things are about to get bad from what they're seeing on coverage, like on live coverage. We need to go. And because we were all injured, even the medics, by 5 p.m., and it was 11 p.m. now, we would have been a danger to ourselves and everyone else had we stayed. So we did decide to leave when ICE came out for their bigger pushes that night because we had already been at it for 12 hours and we'd all been injured by it for half of the shift. But and then I was up all night talking to people about, we were scared he wasn't going to come out. Because they don't even necessarily need to give an order for someone to die in custody. You can just piss off a couple ICE agents bad enough, Yeah. We've seen that ICE agents can murder people in the streets.
Yeah.
And become millionaires from it. So who's to say that
he became a millionaire?
Jonathan Ross is now a millionaire through his GoFundMe, and he is still out working for ICE because he likes it.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just didn't realize.
Yeah, no, he's a millionaire now, and he's still working for ICE because he likes it and because he got away with murder. And so I don't have confidence anytime they take my friends, especially ones that have been taken multiple times, that they're going to come out alive.
Yeah.
So I sat up most of the night. I saw the sun come up talking to people because we didn't know if he was going to come out alive. Sorry.
Oh, you gotta do that. Take your time.
But so that was really hard. Much harder for him, obviously. But he was released, and he was alive. He wasn't doing great, but he was alive. And I had a chance to talk to him before I left because that was not too long before I left. And I was really hoping I'd get a chance to look him in the eye and just make sure that he knows people care about him before I left. Because you need to hear that from as many people as possible, especially when you're in situations like that. And you have to think, when you're taken by these ICE officers, like these ICE agents specifically, they're mean. Like, the cops are mean too. The cops will fuck with you psychologically. But these ICE agents will really target you personally. And so not only is it the physical toll that it's taking and the emotional toll of what happens when you're going through that, it is also psychological torture as well.
Weren't they calling Ian like Toad or something?
Like old, old military.
Yeah,
names.
like some old insult that was specifically his nickname when he was, in the military.
Yeah.
So obviously someone looked up something, or they're doing
They do.
research. So I don't mean to do this
Yeah.
because obviously you're in an
No, go
emotional
ahead.
state because of that, but to kind of juxtapose what just happened, and the actual, when you see these arrests, everybody just sees the violent stuff and they don't really think about kind of the human toll, where obviously you get to see the emotions and the real, consequences and things that happen behind the scenes, behind the viral moment, and the actual feelings and things and trauma and stuff that you have to live through. So obviously, and it looks like it was all just for this.
Yep. And I made it for good measure.
So obviously we got Ian's arrest on there. I will show the little clip there, but little spotlight on you as well. What are your thoughts about, or when did you find out about that? How did that occur? Like, when did that come across your feed?
I found out the next night when someone texted it to me while we were facing police actively. There were police with shields up. We were debating if we need to leave, and I got sent that I was used in DHS Propo, which, even if it's just for a second or two, them putting you on there is them letting you know that they see you. It's all psychological warfare. The way that they did that to Ian, it's trying to intimidate him out of what he's doing, and they don't understand that he is an Army Ranger combat veteran. That's not going to work.
So I guess, do you have any last thoughts about Delaney before we kind of move on from there?
I think that what was most shocking to me, we're used to police violence. We're used to state violence. We're used to, that coming from both Republicans and Democrats. Here in Minnesota, we understand that. But what really shocked me was the civilian employees of GEO Group were allowed to do, because these people do not have protections the way that officers do, and yet they are, beating people with metal batons, macing them after hitting them with cars, just straight up instructing people. They would have someone standing out there going, "Go, go, go," telling people to drive through protesters.
Yeah, blast. I saw that.
So it's just like, what these civilians are doing and are able to do with state permission is what really blew my mind.
Yeah, that's just definitely crazy. And obviously they're, these are just like, I don't know how well they actually get paid. I imagine they're just low-level employees, right?
I mean, I know they're hiring at the Appleton facility for just like paper pushers for almost $40 an hour. So I imagine these are very lucrative positions.
Because nobody maybe even wants to do them as well.
Except the people who do. But yeah, they are very lucrative positions from what I've seen. So they're low-level positions in theory, but they have state backing for violence, and they get paid pretty fucking well. Like, these guys are driving in Chargers and stuff. They aren't driving in broke-down vehicles.
Yeah. So awful. Yeah, it's just, I think the whole thing to me is just like the entire, as if the military industrial complex isn't bad enough, then we have the prison industrial complex. All these things are all interconnected, and how they might even be making, maybe not here, but in other places, they're doing work release. I think that's eventually what we're going to start to see, is people are going to be like, oh, well, why did you take up all the labor? And they're going to bus them into your facility. Like they already do. Work release is a thing. Where they'll bus prisoners in to go work at your facility, and that happens all over the place. So I think that's just a matter of time before that just becomes a normal thing that happens in the background, and we don't even know,
Now they don't even have to get paid for work.
So,
all right, slavery for who wants it.
Yeah, because if you're not a citizen, the prison minimum wage is questionable at this point. From what I think legally, they're just like saying like, no, we don't pay.
Yeah, at this point, GEO Group has arranged it to where they don't have to pay the minimum $1 a day.
So you left Delaney on, what was that, Sunday? No, Monday.
Yeah.
So you left Delaney on Monday, which unfortunately for you, the day that Miss Rachel showed up. So
it's okay.
You don't have kids, so it's a little different. But so, obviously that was cool to see.
That was really cool though, yeah.
But when you think of the way protesters, all these people that are standing up against detention facilities and Whipple and all these things, largely painted as just like bad people and agitators, and you don't care. And you were among the ranks of people like Miss Rachel, who has been voted anti-Semite of the year as well. So I think you're in good graces. So no, I'm joking. But so anyway, so obviously you came back I think it was the day or right around.
yeah.
You came back. There is a little scuffle that happened in Whipple as far as like where the little mutual aid table and stuff like that was able to be. Do you want to kind of like talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, it had happened, before I got back. Whipple is pretty close to the airport, so, by design. But so I went pretty much straight over to Whipple to see what was going on, because I heard that FPS had come out and told people that they weren't allowed to protest or even do mutual aid, where they had been doing it for months. And so there was no one there when I went and looked. They had been pushed out, but our, supplies people came back the next day. They set back up and they went, try us, because this is, we are allowed, this is constitutionally protected activity. We are allowed to do this. And FPS, DHS, they just keep moving the boundaries. So when I was there, within a couple days of that, FPS came out, and it was Jason Burkeen, both DHS agents, and they started saying, well, you guys were never allowed to protest here. You guys just don't listen. And so I ran them back all the way through and reminded them that I have video documentation of all of this if I care to find it. Is that, well, we used to be able to protest all the way up to the gate, and then you said, all right, you can't step up on the curb on that side of the street. And I pointed at Burkeen and I reminded him, you and Edens told me that right over there. You can't step up on the curb on that kind of the side of the street. And then it was winter, and they tried to get MNDOT to plow their road. And they said, no, that's your property, so you have to plow it, which is when they realized that they owned it to the middle of the street. So that's when they pushed us back to the middle of the street, because they didn't even know their own property lines. So then we have been able to protest all the way over to the side, on the other side, which is, park property, park and MNDOT property. We've been able to protest there this entire time. So then coming out and literally saying, Burkeen, shut the fuck up, when I started saying that.
GSA property is what he said, I think.
Something. And it's like, yeah, it is all federal property, but also like, so the park is part of the federal property and stuff too. So like this whole area, like, no, like, no, you don't just get to push
public
us.
thoroughfare.
Yeah. Well, there's even a public sidewalk on the other side of the street. And so, and that's initially where they tried to detain me one day shortly after Renee Good's murder. That was right by a public crosswalk.
Yeah.
But just on the other side of the street. So this whole time we've been by public amenities. We have been on property that the public is allowed access to. It isn't just federal property that is used for court or for immigration or whatever. They're just trying to move the goalposts and get us completely out of the area. So people have been going back, been asserting their constitutional rights. And so there is still an ongoing protest at Whipple with supplies and everything. They just have everything ready to move in case they come to try to raid them or something,
So, and then after dealing with that at Whipple, obviously that's kind of, subsided. But basically you were able to make a trip down to the Appleton detention center that is opening up. So I'm going to play this video really quick.
Is the Appleton detention facility that's being turned into an ICE concentration camp. I'm currently standing on Fairgrounds. It borders up against the Appleton Fairgrounds.
I guess without going too far into length, so we could cover the court thing as well. Do you got any thoughts on your trip there? And
I mean, it's mostly just a reminder that it's getting ready to open. It's probably closer to opening than we want to believe, because there's already 30 to 40 vehicles in the parking lot when I was there. Someone who's seen it more recently said that there was more than that. They had a security vehicle with Florida plates right out front. They appeared to have a drone in the sky, because somebody pointed out, like, what's that in one of my pictures? And it looks like a drone to me, but I didn't see it when I was there.
Job postings too, right?
Oh, yeah. They have job postings for just like paper pushers for like almost $40 an hour. I heard electricians like $60 an hour. So they're hiring. They're getting ready to open, and we need to be ready to face that this is happening in Minnesota.
Yeah. So we're about 3.5 hours-ish roughly away from the metro area, depending on where you're at. So out in Appleton, Minnesota, I think it's closer to the Dakota borders there.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think it's a little bit outside of the reaches of our the Twin Cities, but not far enough to keep us from putting up a stink and actually going out there and standing in solidarity. Because damn well, where are they going to start sending people? They're going to be like, man, these flights are expensive.
It's for everyone in like the region that David Easterwood controls.
Let's do like $100 million charter bus contract instead or something.
Yeah. It's for the region David Easterwood controls, so it's for multiple states.
Correct. And this gentleman just keeps coming back up in our fucking discussions here. So what a
Right.
what a reoccurrence. But anyway, so obviously it's fresh in our minds. We need to realize that, Whipple is one thing. Whipple wasn't actually a true detention center to the word.
It's more an administrative hub.
Yeah, with some basement cells. And, obviously there's some questions of length of time that people spent there. And I think that's all up for debate right now, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, definitely this is a much bigger, much more pressing threat that once it is opened is going to be utilized. And this is a perfect example of some of the things that could potentially happen here.
Last name, S-A-N-T.
I got you.
Kevin Rich. I very much like you. You could call him.
We'll do it.
Rich is spelled R-I-C-H.
612-444-2654. Nazis. Fucking pig.
Shame on you.
Nazis. Fucking Nazis. Get the fuck out of our neighborhood. Look at them. Fat pieces of shit. Get the fuck out of here. Lazy motherfuckers. Go! Look at them. Fucking idiots.
So we've got the arrest of, like you said, some people we know, more you as well, but definitely this starts to hit home.
Yeah.
You start to think about all the different things that we've been talking about here today, all the different arrests, all the just fucking with people's personal lives, whether these are actually real or not. Even if it gets thrown away in the end, there's enough damage that is done, in this process. But I'm going to play one last video here before we kind of discuss this. And so obviously at the courthouse, what happened? A bunch of people showed up in support of their friends. And this next video is what happened.
No.
Shout out to Jules. Pulling something away. That one was the worst. That is like, you could hear the hit.
That's bad.
That's a crush.
Yeah. Yeah, people were into it.
That girl, oh my god.
Yeah, the ambulance had to come somewhere.
Is she the one who was at church? Yeah.
Somebody went up and wrote ACAB with their finger. And look at that, people getting right back up there. It is still spicy as fuck up there, like, and gross, and people are willing to be right there. Some of them touching the pepper spray and mace just because they need to look those marshals in the eye that just did that to them.
Yeah, we talked. Carrie and I talked about that as well.
Inside.
Fuck these fucking
One of those is
aggressive
going to be
fucking
delivered to a
terrorists.
state somewhere.
What is that thing? Is that pepper spray too?
Fuck these
Fuck these domestic terrorists. We fucking see you, bitches. Look inside. These are the assholes.
It just dropped their mace.
We got you. They got something right in the fucking eyes.
So, what are your thoughts about that? Obviously, I think I was watching. You were kind of center a little bit.
Yeah,
Like,
I had
right
walked
off-
back to start warning people that they were putting on masks. I think I was who told Carrie. So I immediately, as soon as I heard, from people looking through the glass up front, they're putting on masks, I started walking back and letting people know so that people could prepare.
Yeah. So, I think we could probably spend a bunch of time even just talking about
Yeah.
this and everything. But, just to kind of put all of today in perspective and all these things kind of happening, do you have any just kind of thoughts of just how all this connects?
I mean, we're seeing across across the United States, we're seeing all levels of state power becoming more aggressive and working together. Maybe not in new ways, but in ways that we're seeing have really far-reaching effects. We have seen the same things here in the Twin Cities with city and state, authorities collaborating with ICE. We saw it, out in New Jersey. We're seeing it across the board, that when these people have power and know that they aren't going to get in trouble for just unleashing violence on us, they're willing to do it without real provocation.
Yeah, they're gonna
Yeah.
do whatever the fuck they want, and make their examples of everybody, and then have the governor, like in the case of, well, hey, at the very least, you hear from Governor Mickey Mouse about it. Do you hear anything from our governor?
I mean, yeah, at least credit where credit's due.
Did he?
She at least went to the detention center at Delaney. Tim Waltz never once came to Whipple.
Did he ever even make a comment about this occurrence the other day at the courthouse? I haven't heard it.
I sure haven't heard it if he did. But honestly, I don't pay attention to what Tim Waltz says because he didn't do anything for us in the surge and then wanted to take credit for all of the deals that he made and the way that he handled things. And it was us in the streets that handled things. So if he did comment on it, I'm sure it's about, violent, how we need to maintain control or something, and not about what violence it actually is.
So coffee and donuts wasn't enough?
Yeah, no, coffee and donuts was absolutely not enough.
They're coming for us. No.
I keep... No, that's an ambulance. We're fine, guys.
So I think my battery's dying here, so we got to kind of wrap things up. Yeah. So I guess any final thoughts for the day, or is that kind of what you had there?
In general, I just want to remind people that state violence is state violence, and they're going to try to pit us against each other and say that these are good protesters, or this is the right way to resist, and these are the bad ones, and this is the bad way to resist. And we see that happening in every city, in every state. And please just remember that we are all one. We are all fighting the same fight. And that if we let the authorities turn us against each other, we are losing the true power that we have, which is solidarity and community.
Thank you. And how do we find you, Emily?
Redwitch, REDW period, TCH333 on Instagram. Emily Phillips on most platforms, probably also, Instagram too.
We'll put all that in the description for you. And a lot of people don't realize, in order to do all this work, it does take support from the community, from other people as well. What's the best way to help you continue your mission monetarily?
I have Cashapp and Venmo. They are on my profile. I would really, really appreciate it. I have a couple trips I'm trying to take for activism coming up. And so if anybody can, that would be awesome. Always appreciated. But also just following what's going on. Just give me a follow if you can and see what's going on. See the updates that come through.
Share, and
Because
keep pushing the message.
That's how, I don't do this for fame. I do this to get the message out there about things that are really important. So the more people see the things that are happening on the ground and in the streets, the better.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today. As far as myself, if you want to follow the show, it's at Occupation Breakdown. Myself for politically and just everything, it's at Dissent Dad. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, kind of all across the board there. So all my links are below as well. As well, I do all this just out of my own time here. So if you're willing to support me financially as well, it's at Dissent Dad at Venmo as well as buy me a coffee. But thank you so much, Emily, for joining
Thank
me
you.
today. Everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you.